So, Curtis, another fight back at the Apex. You starting to get bored of this venue, or are we okay with it?
I'm all right with it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. With this fight, right, it's kind of a weird one where you kind of know exactly what you're going to get. A guy who's going to stand there and try and hit you really, really hard. Does that make it easier to train for because you know what style you're dealing with, or harder to train for because you can't really replicate that in sparring?
A little bit of both, because, yeah, it's hard to replicate the intensity that I'm sure Sergei's going to be bringing, but also a little easier because you're not worrying about a whole bunch of other, him using a bunch of other different offensive attacks. Yeah. It does make it a little easier. Yeah.
I'm sure when you were preparing for this fight, the one that everyone's going to point to is the Overeem fight, right? When he first got to the UFC, kind of got out-grappled in that. Is that it? Do you look at that and go, well, if Overeem can do that, and I know I can do to Overeem, then I know what I can do to this guy?
I mean, that's not like, I don't believe in MMA math, because that'll get you screwed up. But I look at that film. I was actually there that night because I fought Francis that night, so I watched it. And yeah, that does give me confidence that if Alistair can take him down and hold him down, I'm confident I can also. Yeah.
It's been a while since this topic has come up, but I only ask because of his explosive aggression. Is the smaller cage something you'd rather not be dealing with, or does it not even come into your mind?
The smaller cage, it does allow for a lot more engagement, but if I'm using my footwork the way I know I can and using my high-lows, I don't believe it's going to be an issue.
Do you think his recent success is coming because he's fighting stylistically guys who will stand in front of him and just be there to be hit, if you know what I mean?
A little bit. I think, yeah, his past opponents, they've been pretty much stationary, and I'm the opposite. I don't like to be stationary. I like to always be moving, presenting multiple targets, and I think, yeah, his past opponents did the exact opposite and played into the brawling game he wants.
Once again, I feel like every time you're right there, something happens in the heavyweight division where someone else comes in and then a fight gets, and you're just sort of pushed back and told to fight again. It looks like Jon and Stipe will probably happen in November now, which is a while away. And then Jon seems to sort of be saying, well, if I win that, I'm gone. Does it kind of annoy you that you're like, well, I don't know what I'm working towards yet?
No. I know what I'm working towards. I win. I'll wait. I'll wait for a title shot. I don't care who it is. If it's Jon, if it's Stipe, if they bring in Brock Lesnar, I'll wait.
It's funny, right? For years, Jon's always, they're always looking for the next guy who's going to challenge Jon, and Cyril was this big, fast mover that what might give him fits, and then he came in and did what he did to Cyril. But now I feel like in that conversation, your name's the one that's coming up, oh, well, he hasn't fought, a younger, more explosive wrestler. Do you believe you have the style to give Jon the problem?
Yes, I do. I mean, the wrestling I present, it's a problem. And if you don't think so, then you don't really understand MMA. The ability for me to take the fight from on the feet to the ground when I want to puts more mental pressure on my opponents. They have to think about it. Even if I don't actually shoot, it's an option. And it's something for you to think about. And I use that. And I think I can use that against Jon.
What's your relationship like with him, if you even have one?
I don't really have one. I mean, last year I was asked about a potential matchup between him and Stipe, and it was a smaller interview, and I gave my answer. I was like, I picked Stipe because he's shown me he's had multiple 5-round heavyweight fights, and I haven't seen that of Jon. And I guess Jon's seen that, and he kind of popped off on me on Twitter, but that's about it. That's the only engagement.
Last one for me. I know this isn't necessarily something that you particularly care about a lot, but if he beats Stipe and then you and him apparently he has a little bit of a weird animosity towards you, that fight would be massive. And then for you to have this opportunity to be the one to beat Jon Jones, is it a bit frustrating that he might potentially not do that and just retire?
No, I mean, I'm not in this for glory. A lot of that's not what wakes me up and gets me working out in the morning. I'm here for money, and I know if I have the belt, I get more money. So whoever I have to fight to get the belt, I really don't care who it is. It would help, obviously, if it was Jon. That helps my legacy, but it's not the end-all, be-all for me.
Well, if it's about money, if you beat Jon, you'd be the champion. They'd give him a rematch, and then you'd have the champions clause for the rematch.
Yeah, there's more money. It would definitely help, but even if it's not Jon, that's still a lot of money.
Hey, Curtis. What were your thoughts on Jon Jones versus Cyril Gane? Like, did you think it would go as easy as it was, or
No, I mean, I knew that he had the option to take him down whenever he wanted to. It was just a question of whether or not he had ego. If he had ego, he would have tried to stand and knock him out on the feet. He didn't have ego. He went for the takedown immediately and was able to get the guillotine. I'm not really shocked because we had already seen Cyril Gane didn't know how to wrestle. I don't think he ever. A lot of guys in the UFC come in and they have their skill. This is what I'm good at, and that skill is what got him here, and they don't really add on. I think he's one of those guys. He believes in his hands. He's like, I don't have to wrestle. So I don't think he's ever going to know how to wrestle. So,
is that something with Cyril Gane? Obviously, if he's not going to learn to wrestle, he's going to be in big trouble in the heavyweight division, obviously. But do you think it was part of that? Do you think the lights and everything got to him, or do you think it was just he does not know how to wrestle?
I don't think it was the lights. He had an interim title fight, right? So yeah, I don't think it was the lights. I think he doesn't know how to wrestle. Like when he got in that position, he didn't fight the hands. That's the first thing you do is fight the hands. He didn't, so you knew right there he doesn't know what he's doing.
Have you been impressed with Sergei's run so far? With him knocking out Derek and knocking out Ty and all, or do you think it's been a perfect matchup for him, or if these guys don't want to stand and bang with him and that's what he does?
I mean, it is impressive regardless of the matchups. Every time you step in the octagon at heavyweight, you could lose. It's not really a skill-based division. It's just who hits first. So for him to rack up the wins, impressive. And also I think it does help that he's been fighting against guys who, like I said earlier, they're stationary. They don't move, and they're willing to bang with them.
And finally, former opponent Francis Ngannou has obviously left the UFC. Do you think, there was a lot of questions about him leaving, but it's kind of cooled down by now. Do you think it was a mistake for him to leave?
No, I do believe he will. He only needs to have one fight where he earns $5 million for it to be a win for him, and that can happen between now and the next 4 years. I believe it'll happen. So I don't think it was a mistake.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Curtis, thanks for taking the time. You're back here in Vegas, similar surroundings. How was your training camp? Did you get to use the PI? Did you have any new sparring partners to replicate your opponent?
No, I've had the same camps for the past 6 years. I believe in the philosophy, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And no, I haven't used the PI. I live in Colorado, and I don't think it's worth the fight out here. So
That Colorado gets you that higher elevation. There's stronger lungs, bigger gas tank. Awesome. And last for me, how was that weight cut, if any, the training camp, good, healthy sparring, everything good leading to the big night?
it was a great camp, and I really don't have a weight cut. It just happens on its own.
Excellent, sir. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Hey, Curtis. Your opponent already served as a backup fighter for Jon Jones and Cyril. Would you serve as a backup fight for Stipe and Jon? Would that be something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, why not? That's an easy yeah.
Were you a little upset that they didn't ask you for that last one, or did they ask you?
No, I wasn't asked, and no, I wasn't upset.
Thank you.